Hey, it's Edna Keep here. Welcome to the Seven Figure Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone. This is Edna Keep with Seven Figure Real Estate. And today I have Stephen Pesavento, all the way from Denver, Colorado, to speak with us today. So Stephen has been buying properties all over the U.S. So I was introduced to him and thought he would make a great person for us to connect with. You know, he's really scaling large. And I believe the last units he bought was like 200 plus doors in one transaction, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We're partnered on a 288 unit out in Jacksonville, Florida.
Beautiful. Yeah, I've got some students looking there right now. So, Stephen, how'd you get started in real estate?
Yeah, well, I was probably in the same shoes a lot of the listeners have been in, or maybe are in right now, where, I had this real estate bug since I was really young. I mean, growing up as a kid, I wanted to be one of two things. I either wanted to be a chef like Emeril Lagasse, or I wanted to renovate houses like Bob Vila. And I'll tell you, all that HGTV and Food Network definitely paid off as, I entered into the real estate space after a career in management consulting. And I had just gotten to the end of my rope there. I realized okay, it's super important to be able to create money and wealth, but it's not everything. We got to create something that we can have more of an impact and work with the kind of people we want to work with. And real estate was really that vehicle for me, but I had a lot of limiting beliefs that stopped me from getting started in the first place. Because all the way back when I was 17, I actually read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I had that idea implanted in my head. And that book was followed by the 4-Hour Work Week, which isn't about working less. It's just about working more effectively. Yeah. And all of these entrepreneurial ideas were planted from a very, early on, but it took almost 10 years before I bought my first property. And when I first got started, I can actually remember I was sitting on the couch. I was at my girlfriend of the time, and I jumped up and I was like, you know what? Not another day, not another minute. I'm doing this. And I decided that day that I was going to fire all my existing clients and I was going to focus 100% of my effort on real estate. And I did exactly that. Okay. And so fast forward, was able to, buy 75 houses my first year, flip over 200 houses within about 2.5 years before we, made the transition into large multifamily and being able to buy commercial real estate.
What made you make that switch, Stephen? I know we have a big reason, but what was your main reason?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the reason that I got into real estate was because I wanted to create the lifestyle that I desired. I wanted to create a lifestyle that was built around flexibility of location, flexibility of my time, and be able to build something that was bigger than myself. And I was doing that with our company and with what Von Finch started out in the flipping space. But I ended up realizing that I was missing one important thing. I was missing that consistency of income, that continuous cash flow that would come in every single day. We had these big checks, these big pops that would happen, but we also had a lot of risk, a lot of liability. And in a changing real estate market, you don't want to be sitting on short-term debt when you're working on a project that may go long-term. So I started looking for some other solutions, some other paths that might be able to end up fulfilling me in that way. And one of the big reasons why I was so attracted to this space was because I was really looking to be surrounded by other people who are just like me, very successful, high income earners, or people who believe that they are capable of more in life, that they can live a better life, and they're going out to seek to continue to grow and be better. And in the single family space, there's a lot of folks, but a lot of my clients every day, they just weren't in that mindset. And so when I stepped full time and full focus into multifamily, I did it because it was able to give me that ideal client, that experience of being able to work with somebody for a long-term relationship while being able to create that true freedom and flexibility that I was really after.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, you know what? We're very, very similar. We started in single family, not flipping though. We were still into buy and hold even right from the start. But we got to the limit. We couldn't buy anymore. So then it was in Canada, you can only have so many mortgages, whether it's corporation or personal, and then you're cut off because you're considered too high risk. So we moved into multifamily to offset that. Do you guys have any issues like that in your area?
You end up having that issue simply because the lack of scale and efficiency at scale when you're dealing with single unit properties. Now, people have definitely figured this out. People are definitely doing it, but the amount of effort that goes into buying one property or two properties, it's nearly the same kind of effort that goes into buying 40 units or 100 units or 250 or 300 units. At the end of the day, it takes the same level of due diligence, but if anything, I'm taking more risk by buying something smaller. So I started seeing that, especially as an out-of-state investor, somebody who was always investing in other markets. I recognize that if I buy something bigger, it's much more affordable for me to fly to that market, to go and do the due diligence, to go see those things on the ground. And of course, I rely on my team and I rely on my partners. But when you're doing the kind of scale we were doing, it's just a recipe for the kind of risk that you don't want to be taking.
So what do you like most about the Jackson, Florida market?
Yeah. So what we really focus on at Von Finch Capital is figuring out what markets are currently have great jobs, are currently seeing growth when it comes to those jobs, that employment, and is seeing population growth. And Florida across the board has a lot of those characteristics. So we really love markets across the Sun Belt because lots of people are moving there. They've been doing that for the last 10 years, but we're seeing even more of that post-pandemic world that we're living in, is that a lot of folks are going to some of those more sunny places that are more business friendly. And so what we really like about Jacksonville is that it has all of those characteristics, and it's a market that is positioned for even more growth because it's earlier in that development cycle compared to other cities in Florida. But we're not limited to Jacksonville. We like different markets and different regions for different reasons. Like Denver, for example, where I'm based out of, we really like this market because it has huge appreciation opportunity. There's a lot of people moving here. We don't expect that to stop. But the cash flow just isn't quite what it is when we go to some of these other markets. So by being able to focus on different strategies in different markets and partnering on the ground with expert operators, we go find great deals. We've got great capital partners and, limited partner investors that are bringing capital to these deals. But then we actually partner with an experienced operator on the ground to execute. And we do that because it ends up creating massive amounts of diversification within our portfolio, as well as leveraging the fact that they have decades of experience often in that local market.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a really, really good idea. Do you look mostly for value add opportunities, or are you turnkey?
Yeah, absolutely. Always value add. I mean, we will buy stabilized assets that currently have tenants in place, but we're always looking for something where there's an opportunity to add value, because to us, that actually is one of the quickest ways to reduce risk, is that when there's an opportunity to be able to increase, the rents, or increase different types of income, or decrease the expenses, that is actually going to put us in a position where we can buy it. And we know we have a little bit of room in case something happens, right? We don't want to buy something for full price value. We want to always be able to find a way to be able to improve that.
Yeah. No, that's our key too. We bought the odd one where, we just took it over, but even when we took it over and it was already fully occupied, there's always opportunity as they move out, fix it up, and then get higher rents and stuff like that. So do you have specific areas that you stay away from for different reasons?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, again, what we're looking for is stability within our portfolio. For the most part, we are buying properties that, have high vacancy or have low vacancy, I should say. But what we're looking to avoid is places that have a high concentration of one single employer. In other words, we're not looking for a place that if that company or sector goes down, that we're going to be hurt by that, and we're not moving into military towns unless there's other types of employment available. But, what's great about that is because of our model, we're able to leverage the expertise of folks locally to be able to execute different strategies. So a great example of that, in Jacksonville, this is a cash flowing type property. It's property we're going to do some value add. And, vacancy is 96% occupied right now. So we're in a very strong place, but we have a huge ability to up rents. Well, in Denver, it's much harder to find larger properties that also have that same kind of return profile. So our operating partner in Denver, they're actually focused on more of a mid-size multifamily strategy. So 40 to 80 units. They will buy larger, but oftentimes they're able to get much better return profile on those smaller properties because the institutions can't compete and they have an in-house construction firm. So we'll do a heavy lift on those properties where we're taking a property from $5 million to 7.5 or above, where we have huge gain in a very short amount of time. And as a result of that, in that specific instance, we're in a much more secure position because of that downside or the upside that we're actually seeing. We're covering that downside. And so it just depends for us. Each market has its own special sauce, and we just want to make sure that we're using that whenever we're in that market.
Perfect. Good answer. Next question. We talked a little earlier about you have a managing partner on the ground. I'm assuming you're like the money partner more, so you guys bring the capital. Go ahead.
So we bring the capital. We also go and source deals in those markets.
You source deals too. How does that work with your investors? Do you syndicate that, or is it just a preferred return, or how do you offer that out?
Yeah, so we have different structures available for different deals and different types of investors. And so if somebody is interested in investing, you're welcome to reach out to us at Von Finch Capital. You can go to vonfinch.com and learn a little bit more about what we do. But we're typically syndicating these deals. We're giving investors the opportunity to partner with us in these opportunities and be able to see, the upside. Typically, investors are able to see anywhere between 70, 80% of the upside, the profit on those deals, and we as the sponsor or syndicator are getting paid based on the success of those projects.
Okay, perfect. And I think one of the other things we talked about was you're a big proponent of mindset. How do you figure that ties in with scaling your business like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm the host of the Investor Mindset podcast. So if you guys are liking what we're talking about, I encourage you to click over right now and go and subscribe to the Investor Mindset on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube. Because what I've found through speaking with hundreds of investors, successful authors, entrepreneurs, people like Chris Voss of Never Split the Difference, Mark Manson of Subtle Art, Joe Fairless, tons of other great authors, investors, and entrepreneurs, what I've noticed is that they have something in common. And one of those things in common is that they're all thinking with this mindset towards success. They're thinking from a perspective, they see challenges as opportunities. They see when they have a problem or a client has a problem, that's actually an opportunity to be able to create profit, to be able to create value. And so, mindset is the foundation for anybody's ability to go and execute any strategy. So if you're looking to go and be an active operator and you want to learn, how to take action, how to go out and find deals, how to close deals, how to make more money, the first step you need to do is get your beliefs in line so that you can actually go and do that effectively, because you might know all the strategies, but if you don't believe that it's possible and have the right pieces in place internally in yourself, you're not going to be able to actually execute.
So on your podcast, do you interview other people, or is it just you talking about the different aspects of mindset?
Yeah, so we interview extremely successful investors, entrepreneurs, folks from across the industry. And what I've noticed, again, it goes back to there's these 5 success principles that seem to be similar between nearly every person. I'm sure, Edna, as we're talking, if I was to ask you some questions, I'm sure we'd end up getting down to seeing some things that are similar. Yeah. And we've actually put together a resource for people. They can just grab a copy of these 5 success principles at theinvestormindset.com/principles. But one of those key principles is that these successful people, they get clear on what they want and why it's important to them. And then once they get clear on what it is they want, once they've got that clarity and they really understand it in depth, then they start searching for not how to accomplish it, but who can help them accomplish it. Who is that person who's already been down the path? Who is that mentor, that partner, that coach, that mastermind, that community, some place or people that can help get them from where they are to where they want to be. And it seems to be so universal across the board. And that's why I really believe everything starts with mindset, because even if you're a passive investor and you're thinking, hey, Von Finch has got some amazing deals, I really like what this Stephen Pesavento person's talking about, I'd really like to invest with Von Finch, then what you're actually, before you even are able to make that decision, you're first going to need to be in a position where you're clear on what it is that you want, so that you can actually go forward making that decision. Because one of the biggest challenges, the biggest problems that people end up facing, I see this from investors that are looking to place capital and from those operators who are looking forward to getting started, is that they're this close to getting exactly what they want, but they don't decide.
Yeah.
Instead, they think they're not making a decision, but they've decided not to take action, and they stay exactly where they're at.
So who were some of your early mentors? I know we talked a little bit earlier that you kind of got turned on to everything through the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, as did we. That was actually our first trainings, was through the Robert Kiyosaki Tiger Learning Group. But who were some of your first mentors?
Yeah, I mean, I look for mentors in books, in podcasts, in conversations that I have with people that I meet just about everywhere in life. I'm a big believer that if you start asking the right questions, you're going to start learning those answers and start being able to model the way that successful people think. So to give a definition of mindset, I see it as the thoughts and beliefs that directly lead to the actions that you're going to take in your life, and therefore the outcomes that you're going to experience. So therefore, if you change those thoughts and beliefs, if you start modeling what other successful people are doing, how they're thinking, you can actually start seeing some of those same experiences. So early on in my life, obviously, started reading some of these books. Tim Ferriss made a huge impact, definitely diving in and understanding how he thinks and what's important to the development of metacognition, of meta learning, of thinking about thinking, of thinking about learning. And through that was introduced to, some great mentors like Tony Robbins, like Jim Rohn, and many other folks along the way. One of my favorite books, which we talked about a little bit earlier, I was mentioning Chris Voss, who wrote the book Never Split the Difference. He was a former FBI hostage negotiator, multiple New York Times bestselling author. This guy is very incredible to talk to. This was, well, I was grateful to have him on our show. And if you guys go to YouTube and search Chris Voss, 60 Seconds or She Dies, you can actually listen and watch me get my butt kicked negotiating against Chris Voss. So it was kind of a dream to be able to speak with him. But when I'm looking at a book or listening to a mentor or asking questions, it all comes back to, how can I apply these lessons in my life? And so, even in this conversation, if I was to flip the script, I'm sure I could learn quite a few things from you or even from the listeners.
Well, that's one of the things I like about doing a podcast, Stephen, is I learn something every single time. And, I used to, before I started my podcast, I'd reach out to different people and I go, wow, that was amazing. Like, I learned so much. And then I thought, geez, you know what? I got to share that with my audience, because if I can do it on a mass basis like this, I can tell that many more people, or we can share with that many more people, right? So I usually, I get approached by a lot of people to be on my podcast, and I go, I gotta, some don't fit, but my first criteria is, do I want to learn from this person? Does this sound like something I need to know? Does this sound like something I'm interested in? I get lots of marketing people reach out to me, and different realtors and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, yeah, not quite a fit, because it's, we're not into homes. We're only multifamily. And our focus very much is multifamily and mindset as well, because I think you got to have the right mindset to be able to scale. New level, new devil, I always say. So that's where I felt connected with you, Stephen. I really felt that you could offer a lot of wisdom to the audience that I work with.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely think that it all begins with that mindset. I mean, for sure, without a doubt, the strategies are incredibly important. I have a partner, Reed Goosens, phenomenal author, podcaster as well. He had actually moved to the United States from Australia with nothing in his pocket, chasing a girl who's now his wife. And he had gotten started in the multifamily space with just a phenomenal story. He was working his 9 to 5. He first got his first duplex, and then he used that experience to be able to then go buy much bigger units. And, since he now owns 3,000 plus units, over 300 million in Austin, Texas, one of the most competitive markets.
Yes.
But one of the things that he taught me and that he teaches members of our multifamily MBA community, which is just a place that people come together to learn some of these fundamental things that they're looking to go to another level. One of the things that he always talks about is that you just want to surround yourself with people who are at another level, that are committed to moving in that direction, and then actually take action. You know, one of the things, people often come in, they'll come for the training. They'll come to learn how to get more deals or raise more money, or even how to actually operate these deals, because a lot of folks are not learning how to run it once they buy it, which is a huge problem. Yeah. But once they learn that they come in for this reason, but then they end up learning that the mindset piece of getting your mind in the right place to actually take action is really kind of the core of any good program or coaching.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have some people that approach me, I just want to learn. Yeah, you know what? You can learn till the cows come home, but it's not till you're working on an actual deal that you're really going to believe you know anything anyway, right?
Yeah, that's exactly true. It's exactly true.
Okay, perfect. So, Stephen, how do people find you? I know you said a little bit earlier, but give us the name of your podcast and your website again.
I think the best place to enter our world is go and subscribe to the Investor Mindset podcast. You can do that on any podcasting app. The second best way would be to actually go and grab our ultimate guide on passive investing. You can do that at the investormindset.com/passive. And what that's going to give you, it's 52 pages. It's a deep dive training on some of the biggest lessons and mistakes that we've learned personally along the way when it comes to making those passive investments. This is great if you're looking to invest yourself. It's also great if you're an operator, because you're going to learn about some of these lessons, the psychology of what goes into that. The second thing I would recommend you do is that, because you listen to this show, go on social media, whatever your favorite one is, and search Stephen Pesavento and send me a direct message and let me know that you came from Edna's podcast. And either myself personally or someone from my team will be able to help get you the information you need, regardless of what direction you're trying to go. We're all about providing value. We do it with a ton of our clients. We do it with a ton of our audience. And we're just glad that you guys were here. But the biggest thing before I let you go, I just want to remind you, you listened to this show for the last 15, 20, 30 minutes. And there's got to be one thing that was valuable. There's got to be one thing that's actionable. And I'm going to encourage you immediately right now to take that action. Maybe that is to go and subscribe to the show. Maybe there's a little lesson in here and you can think to yourself, if I did that in my business, to be able to make a big change, but you got to act. And so that's what I challenge you guys to do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Stephen. It was an absolute pleasure having you on, and I'm definitely going to check it out myself. So thanks again.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening. It's my sincere intention that you got value from this episode. If you're interested in learning more about building your passive income through real estate, either by investing with us as a joint venture partner or as a student discovering how you can attract investors to your deals and build your own 7-figure real estate portfolio by helping others build their passive income, check out my website, ednakeep.com, or watch my free masterclass at ednakeep.com/90days to 5K.